Young Bray was a slight and timid child, awkward and meek, following the directions of his governess and never speaking first. Most days would be spent in his room, playing with the modicum of toys allowed, or watching what birds and squirrels would frequent his small window. Bray would imagine himself being brave enough someday to ask for permission to walk in the garden, his young mind attempting to strategize an argument, well beyond the words he knew, to convince the immense wall of a woman his governess was, if only to not have a barrier between him and those he would dare call his friends. And as dust settled over the view of the wilted garden and dense forest beyond, young Bray, for the first time in his life, spoke unordered. He did not know to whom he was addressing. There were no people outside his window, nor animals to hang on his fragile speech. His words alight on the air like dead leaves crumbling in the wind. His sentence came out more like a hoarse whisper than any tone we are accustomed to. Bray simply said, "Wouldn't a visitor be nice?" It was somewhere in the fog between a question and a statement, and as soon as it was said and over, he turned for bed, almost ashamed that he had said anything at all. Before he took one step away from the window, a howling wail came from the forest, long and shrill, its volume running through Bray as if he had been plunged into a vat of ice and water. Bray did not look outside. Upon hearing the howl once again, he ran for his bed and hid under the sheets. He did not sleep for a long time, straining to listen, but did not hear the sound again before exhaustion took him. The morning light lit his room brighter than usual, its radiance giving him a small measure of courage enough to go to the window and look out. When he got there, his view outside was entirely blocked by a massive black and gray hound. Its eyes were completely covered by a mop of shaggy hair. It was a lean animal, but tall, much taller than Bray. Matted, unkempt fur gave the impression that it had no owner. What Bray focused on, though, was the hound seemed happy. Once he realized this, the animal stopped staring at him and started to play, twirling and dancing, yipping and rolling. It gave Bray such a delight in his heart that a smile slowly and sadly adorned his face. The days went by in this manner. Bray would wake up and greet the hound, then watch him play as he talked to it, telling it all the small amount that he knew and experienced. He would leave the hound for meals and any one-sided conversations engaged with his governess. In the evening, he would watch the hound retreat back to the forest. And when the day was done, Bray knew he had some joy. On the morrow, Bray excitedly ran to his window. However, his view was unbroken, for as far as the vantage would let him, he saw everything. No hound obstructed his view. Panic set in, and a myriad of thoughts flooded Bray's mind. Concern, dread, disbelief, and sorrow. The day was endless. He barely listened to anything his governess said, and did what little was expected of him with utter apathy. Finally dusk came, and as Bray was getting into bed, he heard the same long and shrill wail from the forest. Rushing to the window and looking at the edge of the clearing, he saw the hound, twirling and dancing and wailing. Overcome with a great urge to rejoin the hound, Bray grabbed a heavy coat and lantern. If anyone saw Bray leave that night, there was no concern for him. He made his way outside and through the wrought iron-surrounded garden, across a small field with a crisp, biting wind, to meet with his friend. Just before he got to the animal, it turned and walked into the forest. Bray followed it. He had to be quick, as the animal was weaving through low boughs, roots, and thicket, as if it were liquid or smoke. Bray saw the hound dive into a dense bramble and vanish. Following as carefully as he could, Bray tore his coat and gown on the thorns decorating the hound's home entrance. Falling to the ground in a large space, he looked up. Happy that the hound had stopped and saw it, was equally happy. But the smile was different. There was a glistening around the animal's mouth. Then the mop of hair around its eyes started to part, and Bray saw the hound's eyes for the first time. They were a bright white with vapors emanating off of them. The hound became much more bulky and was filling the space they occupied quickly. Jointed legs were starting to protrude from its body. Bray looked away, and his gaze fell upon a pile of small, heavy coats, small shoes, and torn fabrics. He heard a low growl directed at him and slipped into utter terror. The last thing he heard was a long and shrill wail. The next morning, a small girl of frail stature awoke. Her name was Lorne. She had a very restless night after hearing the animals call from the forest, and when she got up and went to her window, a large, lean hound was there, happy to see her.